What's up, everyone? Welcome back. I'm kind of absent-minded today. Um, I think that's where I've been pretty much the whole day, and I think I'm kind of stuck there. But I had to do something today. But I spent most of the day away from Computer Dora. So today I got Sky with me, kind of piggyback off of what we talked about. Kind of not piggybacking, but adding on to what we discussed in the last one of these that came around. So I'm gonna go ahead and give him the floor. What's going on, Dom? Welcome, brother.
What's going
Welcome,
on, everybody?
welcome back again, Sky. Appreciate you taking the time out your day. What's up there, Chris?
Absolutely. So we talked a little bit about music the last go around.
Yeah, we did.
What all instruments do you actually play?
It was drums first. Guitar didn't come until mm, late 2019 when a friend of mine had given me an old bass and I kind of just started playing that. And the thing was with that, it was more difficult because those strings are like they're like leather metal. It's very hard to describe what it's like, but it's like tearing up your fingers because they're so rough on the edges. So like when you're trying to play something, not just that, that's the instrument you learn how to get your tendons kind of like stretched and contorted, and then you got like it builds your tendon muscles to where like you kind of like multitask it to an extent. Um, but in all purposes, that's when I picked it up. But drums was something that my father got me into when I was, like I said before, I think I was in fifth grade when he got me. He rented a snare drum from school, which was pretty expensive. We couldn't afford it, but he did it so I could simply just learn the basics of what it's like with percussion. I had very good hand and eye coordination. My dad originally really got me into baseball to where like he wanted me to do that because I was really good at it. So what got me out of that was just simply I just didn't care much for the sport, but I had the talent for it, which means I could possibly be in the MLB right now if I wanted to be, but that just wasn't the case. But drums first, guitar second. Guitar didn't really come until my last birthday, which was last year when my mom and ex-fiance got me a guitar for my birthday, and I was just like, holy shit. I picked out what I wanted. I told them what the price range was on it, and they pretty much covered my birthday and Christmas that year. So that's where that came from.
You sing too, right?
On occasion, depends how I'm feeling that day, and I'm very prone to lung infections, and
Okay.
as well as in my throat. So, but I've even had times where I've gone like if you've seen any of the Instagram lives, I've basically gone live when my voice was just not at its best. So those are like one of those days when I'm basically having one of those infection fits, and I push myself because a lot of people really like it. So that's basically what I push myself to do, or I'll push myself, and people say, "Why do you do that to yourself?" It's it's simply for the reason that it's just the only time I actually really do sing is when I'm having a very shitty day, or if my depression's at its worst. But then, other things tend to happen when those days kind of come like closing in. So that's usually where that kind of like falls into one category, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. So have you done any like live shows, professional kind of anything, or is it mainly just hobbies? Or
No, it's just a group of friends that I used to hang out with in like the Oswego area where I used to live. I used to live in two different towns, but my parents were separated, so um, we kind of get together and they have their webcams. I unfortunately don't have one, but I could still have sound coming out of my PC. So when you guys hear us play, that's like three or four people, but we're a band of six. So we're working up to about eight or nine. So we're like going Slipknot quality. The only problem is like the towns are so small, and it's very hard to write music. And the only person that's capable of doing that is myself and well, TJ, but TJ passed away late last year, so me and him were discussing trying to get something going, and he was gonna like teach me the flow of things, and he was a really good friend. It's just tragedy strikes at any time kind of thing. So like we were the only two kind of capable of like collaborating and writing music together, and when he was gone, it became very difficult for me to write any kind of music because I can't find the creative formality to formulate something like that. So we just been covering from like groups that we know to kind of like evolve the music itself. Not just evolve the music, but evolve the actual instrumental portion of it. So like we involve our skills where we call it a craft. Musicianry is a craft, and you have to learn it and you have to master it. I haven't mastered shit. I'm at most still at beginner level, and some of the songs that you probably hear are like those aren't beginner level. It depends. If you're playing it at a certain speed, then But if you're playing it at like a speed of craziness to where like you feel like your thumb and your freaking fingers could be flying off, that's a different story. But we've never played anything live because one, it's very hard to do that nowadays with COVID. And then
Right.
even in the past, it's hard to even get as much as a bar gig. So you can't. I did that. I did it one time, and that was earlier in the summer. Some friends of mine were doing a Linkin Park collaboration, and like, dude, you're the only one who knows a lot of the songs. We need you to do this for us. I know, like, I openly admit it. I sound like shit. But like when it comes to some of the songs, it's just like if you drink a lot of water or like mix it with something like I don't know, something has a lot of stickiness to it, it'll kind of dry up your vocal cords to make screaming easier. And that's what I've kind of learned is that if you drink something and it dries out your throat, it makes screaming easier because you don't have all that lubrication there to where it just sounds really bad. So that was the only time we did that. It was a one-time thing. It was okay. I can't really say it was okay. Like it was a fun time. Everybody did. Nobody gave us a hard time or anything, but it was a small little venue in the strip in Chicago somewhere. I can't remember where. I think it was somewhere in the Loop, which is one of the hardest places to get any sort of attention, but they were just desperate for entertainment before they closed the bars down. So other than that, no, we never really did anything except that one thing.
And how long have you guys been together?
Oh, we've known each other 8, 9 years. Um, the name we named it was based off of a very, very personal song to me. It's a Breaking Benjamin title. We called ourselves Ashes of Eden for a while. We thought about changing it, but strictly from the fact that song just holds very just as much as Evil Angel does. That one's kind of secondary to it because it's just like what happened to me last summer is exactly how I live off of it. So it really kind of holds me together, and it's kind of like the sewing needle that keeps me here and keeps my feet on the ground. But we've known each other a long time, and it's just like we all kind of learned together. Like I wasn't doing any instrumental stuff when I met them. It was just all vocally until I finally just like, you know what? I got to do something creative. I got to be a part of this somehow. I got to learn. So a friend of mine named Dan who lives very short distance from where I live gave me a bass, and he was teaching me. He's like, you got to get your fingers and your calluses going. That's the only way you're really gonna pick it up. And then just play this. I think it was Smoke on the Water, which is like the easiest shit to freaking learn because it's simply 3 chords on 3 frets. So when you learn the more advanced stuff, it's like once you get the understanding what the fretboard is like and get a feel of it and get an understanding of the chords, at that point it's pretty much you just go along with it and you just test each one and what it sounds like, and then you kind of just put them together. It's like a big fat jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, guitar is a difficult instrument to learn. I've messed with it since I was a kid. I still haven't got it right.
It also depends on the
Um,
it also depends on the guitar as well. Like it depending on which brand you use. Like there's Jacksons, there's Les Paul, there's Paul Reed Smith, which is my favorite kind, and then there's the you know the classic Jaguars, and then you got um, the Fenders. So
right.
you got all of those. So it also depends on the guitar that you're playing. Every string pattern is depending on the maker. So if the maker is good, the strings could either be rougher or softer.
Yeah, and then there's so many different levels with 6 string and 12 string and dual neck, and gets very complicated as you
Dual
move
neck,
into that
dual
whole
necks,
world.
dual necks. I think are for the hardcore drug addict, alcoholic musicians that play that shit. Simply saying, you got to be out your fucking mind. That's just
It
me.
it's kind of nuts to watch, but it's pretty impressive when they make it actually sound decent. How long did it take you to where you were comfortable playing in front of people, on the internet and that kind of thing?
It started out as a drunken thing. I just did it simply when I was just fucked up and didn't care. Um, the comfortableness that came after that was is when I was kind of like, you know what? If I suck, I suck. If I don't, I don't. If people say something, let them voice their opinion. And that's just the way I look at it. Like if you love something and you love learning something, don't let other people's criticisms kind of just like cloud that judgment. Music is an outlet for me in a sense. So at that point, I don't care what other people say or think when it comes to how well I either play or how good I am or like, oh wow, whatever. It doesn't matter. But it's not a matter of being comfortable, it's just the confidence level that it is, or it just depends on whether or not you're in the right mind to where you realize you're doing it. That's usually how that is. If it was like thousands of people, I'd be like, no. In the
Oh,
formality standpoint, like, if I'm being realistic, I don't like people. I don't mean that like I'm a mean guy. Like, no, I just don't like people. I'm not a people person. I don't like being surrounded by big groups of people. I don't like being around a bunch of people. It's not a phobia either. It's not like one of those things where it's just like if I was living on my own, I'd have probably an 8-foot fence around my property with a gate in front of it and, away from civilization. It's like my own little special domain or a dome, if you may call it. It's not a
I
meant.
am the same way.
It's not. I'm a very private person. On top of it, I used to not be that way. Unfortunately, when it came to my last relationship, it was just like nope. It's just like I can't open up that way again.
Right.
It's to a certain extent that I can, and then there's just that maximum level that I cannot reach. So if I'm basically putting myself right now where I'm at right now, I'm living in a one, two, three, one bathroom, two bedroom apartment with a big ass living room and a fat ass kitchen. I don't have that personal bubble, so like I'm easily agitated because I constantly, if I don't have my mom poking through the door or knocking on the door and having some sort of, especially when like I'm streaming or something, so I don't have that privacy. I don't have that space or that bubble that I want. My
Right.
my roommate's pretty keen on doing that. Like he leaves me alone, unless like he's bringing me my mail for the day. But other than that, he leaves me alone. But it's not that I don't. It's not that I'm like, oh, if somebody comes up to me, I'm gonna punch him in the face or I'm gonna tell him fuck off. No, it's just like I just don't like people that way. I used to be
Right.
very people friendly, but like I said, that last bit of it went, forget it. It's just like at that point, why do I bother? I made every effort to try and change who I was, and still do to this day. And all it did for me was dig a bigger hole and distance myself from that domain. And people will say, like, well, life goes on. Okay, paint yourself this picture. Did you live with that person for 7 years? Did you have the same physical and mental relationship you had with that said person? No, you didn't. That's the point where I'd walk in and say, fuck off.
Right.
You don't know what goes on with me up here. Like this thing up this skull up here, and I'm gonna quote Chester Bennington for a brief moment. This skull, this space between my ears, this is a bad neighborhood, okay? I should
Yeah.
not be up here by myself ever. There's like this, it's like a bad freaking spot to be. You don't want to be there. There's another Josh up there that just wants to take this Josh down and be like, fuck you. You could, and all this other shit. I if I quoted him perfectly, I just don't say nice things to myself when I'm up there. And the thing is, it didn't really become a big issue with that happening up until I was alone. I didn't have companionship anymore. If I'm being fair, Cody was a very big part of me coping with depression and dealing with anxiety. So like her presence alone, whenever she'd give me a hug or she'd hold me and all this other things, is just like telling me everything will be okay kind of thing. I became very secure with that, and I was like my little bubble at that point. So like I became very calm and collective. Yeah, I had those anger issues, but that kind of spiked from a different medical issue that I described before. So,
Right.
I couldn't really help what was going on with that as much as I could have. I could have paid more attention to signals like, hello, this isn't who you are. And people are pointing this out and like, get yourself checked, bro. And I didn't do that. So, that's, it's been these past 8 months where I kind of like, if you haven't seen it yourself, I kind of pick and choose what people I like and which ones I don't.
Right.
My bubble is very small. So like if you're not around me and I don't say shit to you clearly, you're not in my bubble. Don't get me wrong. The viewers are very much inside of my bubble because they're always there to support. Never once have they ever come up and say, "Ah, yeah, your stream sucks today." Then
Right.
that would kind of change the concept of everything. But that's just how I look at things. I'm a very private person now compared to how I was 8 months ago. I was open book. I could tell anybody anything, but now I just gotta watch my mouth and who the hell I basically speak to, and that's just how things are with me. Some people will say, well, that's unhealthy. Like, no, it's not. It depends on how you look at it. I basically had a heart that was full of you know pride and joy because of what I basically felt for Cody and my kid, which is this raw emotion that I have, and then I was shot straight through it.
Right.
Like I get it. People say, "Well, we all saw it coming," because eventually, everybody has their limits to shit, and Cody's reached her limit. I get that, but it was how it was done, which was really screwed up. And I'm not gonna fault her for that because at that point, she's never been put in that situation where she had to make not a rash. Sorry, that's the wrong terminology. Make a quick decision to save not only herself, but as I worded to her, she saved our son from my chaos of bullshit. What was going on with me, sick
Right.
or not, me being as sick as I was up there, it's just like, save him. Never let him know this life of chaos that you and I lived before he was born. With how I was with you, like, don't, I would write her letters and tell her that, and I think that's what kind of gave her that stability, but also, like what you witnessed yesterday when I forgot to mute my mic, is how she's basically standing her ground more, and she's very passive aggressive towards me. So where it's just like she doesn't know whether to be defensive, aggressive, or calm because she doesn't know who she's talking to. She doesn't recognize me as being this person who's full of calmness, stability, and just trying to work things that need to be worked.
Right.
That's how I perceive it. But,
She's still confused, trying to figure it all out on her end too.
that could be the case. I could very much say for about 95% of the time she's not confused about anything. She knows exactly what she's doing and how she wants it. But then again, I can't
Right.
speak for other people, and that's perfectly fine. But like going back to your question, when it comes to being around people, in that sense, I couldn't do it. Don't think I could ever be a famous musician, even if I made it that far, because I can't bring myself in front of thousands of people and look at them and be like, look at these vultures.
Right.
And then you got like naked, there's always that one dude at a Slipknot concert. They call him Naked Dude. He shows up fucking butt naked, and he's always sitting on some dude's shoulder, and all you hear is Corey Taylor saying, "Oh, dude, he's ball bagging the fuck out of your head." So it's like, and then you get these chicks that show up, and then they're just whipping their tits out like they don't care, but then they realize when their friend comes to them the next day and says, "You know how drunk you were yesterday? You whipped your tits out, and everybody saw them." So it's like,
Right.
I'm not there to like see that. I'm a father, so like I get it. A lot of musicians are, but like seeing all that stuff, and then you're basically, if you're recording a DVD for your band, do you really want your kid to be watching you on stage and then there's some chick up there whipping her shirt up, or God forbid just butt naked? No, you don't want to see that. It's not,
Not generally.
I'm about setting examples for him now because, like I said yesterday, I may not have been there for him before. I'm trying to make up for that now because he
Right.
needs both his parents to get to understand that he's not alone. He's not growing up without a mother and a father, or a mother or a father. He has both of them. They're both there,
Right.
and that's the the validity of it. And I strongly, advise that a lot of fathers that are out there take that same initiative, because especially if you don't have your kids 24/7, more than likely you don't, because the moms always do. That's just how it is. I'm in a state right now where they're a very mother-friendly county. I've seen, and these are the most screwed up situations. There's moms out there that could be a full-blown crack whore, go to court and still get custody of her kids because she has a job, but she smokes crack.
Right.
And that's just how fucked up the world gets. So that's just how that is with me. I'm a lot more closed off now than I am now. Now, bear in mind, I did take a trip to downtown Chicago over the summer to take my kid, kind of to show him new parts of where he lives, which is the city side of things. We took a walk down, I think it's Lakeshore Drive, which people call the Danger Hood at the end of the night, but it was throughout the day, and everybody's out there with their boats and their canoes and all this stuff. People are taking their walks, their bike rides, and I'm just walking with them, and he sees the ducks, the little ducks, and he's feeding the ducks bread and stuff like that, or crackers, whatever it may be, that I've given him to give to the ducks. And he just goes up to the ducks, and he's like, "Ucky," or like he's trying to say ducky, but he says "ucky," so it's like he can't get the D in there. So I'm watching him do all of this, and it's just like, and believe it or not, that day I was going to take him, I did invite his mom. Be like,
Well, that's nice.
it would be good for him to see that we're both coexisting in a friendly manner for the sake of him, so he could have a fun day.
Right.
And, unfortunately, a certain excuse came into play. You're probably knowing where I'm going with this. Just in case, I'm not going to entertain the fact that, there was an excuse. But I basically threw that in there simply for the fact, not, for one, she wouldn't feel left out, and two, she'd feel like the fact that I'm trying to be your friend and I want you to be involved for his sake.
Right.
We were only gone 3 hours. He did very little walking. We had the stroller, but then he basically, he rode on my shoulders a lot and just like looking at the boats and the cars, and like I said, he played with the ducks, and then we went on Navy Pier and he saw more boats and more stuff. And he eventually got cranky because it was a little bit hot outside. It wasn't too bad, but it's just how it was. Then I was trying at that point to be the best friend she wanted me to be. She saw me as her best friend at one point. I was trying to be that, so that our son would see that mom and dad don't hate each other. But now it's just like
Right.
when I pick him up, I think he kind of feels like the vibe that's between the two of us. Like the vibe I get is the uncertainty vibe, and then there's the vibe from her where she's uncertain whether or not, it's fear from her, because like, what happened was a friend made a comment and it scared her. It was the fact that, he thought I should take him out of state and run off. It scared the shit out of her. And it kind of ticked me off in a way, because it's just like, I'm not that way. I'm not going to go and take our child away from his mother.
Right.
So, you can kind of see like where my thing with people is, like why I keep the circle small and why I kind of back the fuck up from that. It's just like you let too many people in, they're gonna bulldoze their way through your life and bulldoze their way in. It's just like, you know what? I just don't have time for this.
Right.
I don't have need to have people sticking comments in there that are just completely unnecessary. She's not a bad mother. She's not a bad person. And we're human. We make mistakes. Yes. Do I sometimes get to a point where I'm frustrated that she said this, this, and this? Yes, I do. Because I'm
Right.
having a hard time understanding the changes in her demeanor, in her personality. I'm not accustomed to that. That comes with the territory. We all know that. But that kind of sums
Right.
up where you mentioned, well, do you before like ever done in front of crowds? Small crowds, but I'll never do big ones because like the summit. I'm just not a people person that way.
Makes sense. I mean, it's a lot of people, a lot of shit to deal with. So I guess we'll get into the whole drinking situation. When did all of that start?
That I believe started. That all started after my dad passed away. It was my little brother first. Um, he coped. He did not know how to cope with it when he was just fresh into the Marines at the time, and how he would handle his free time or his days off is he would go into downtown LA with friends and just get bombed. It got to a point where I think these girls they went downtown with, one of them stole his wallet. And the thing is, I told him, when you are these young military men and you go to these clubs with these random horny chicks, they'll get what they want out of you, and then they're going to rob you. That's what they do. They rob the young military men. They know they have money. So,
Right.
yeah, it's not just that. They also just do it for the sake of the fact, like, yeah, whatever. It's just how that's always been. It's been that way when back in the day when the Navy men would come in and, you know, the U.S. Army and all this good stuff. So, it started with him and it got really bad to where he would call us drunk and high all the time. So, after that, I had my moments where it just got kind of like a little bit hung up. I would have my moments, and it would scare Cody because like she never would see me in that state of mind where I was just be quiet and not say anything and just sucking down, sucking down, sucking down, and just like either lay there, sit there with a blank look on my face. It got worse after she left. Um, it went from you know all through June I was fine. I would just cope by taking walks and just calming down and thinking maybe this isn't all that bad. Maybe things will change and maybe, you know, it's a temporary solution to a temporary problem thing. It wasn't. And then July came around and a friend of mine came over and they were hanging out like, "Hey, we're going to he calls me he's like, "Hey, we're going, to a tit bar. I'm not sure if you want to do that." At that point, I kind of like was thinking in my head like, and then I was thinking that that little freaking devil that was on my shoulders like, "You're single, don't matter what you do, you can't get in trouble." So I was like, you know what, fuck it. So the first stop was obviously the comic book store. They wanted to get some money, whatever. No, I'm wrong. That was the second time around. Um, the first time around, we just went straight there. We paid our whatever it was. I think it's like a $5. They call it a cover charge for whatever reason, but then again, they don't have olives, they don't have food and all that stuff for a cover charge. I don't even know why they're charging one.
Right.
Um, it was just regular drinks and pretty much dances was all it was. But then like that night, I just was sucking them down. And I was like, "Are you good?" And like they couldn't get anything out of me. And that was the night I met Maddie, who was a dancer there. And then we kind of got close that night. And then I just made it a habit of going there every day. And this where all my money disappeared to. I had like 4,500 saved away, and I just blew it on booze and freaking like tits in my face. So that was all through the summer to where it was just like October came around, and one day Maddie went to sleep. She didn't wake up the next day. So like the closest person I had at the time who I was able to confide in passed away. And it wasn't just confiding, we kind of had this thing with one another, and before anything could really happen, that happened. So like that kind of built onto that, because that was the first out of the 4 friends I lost that summer. But she was just severely depressed as it was, so she knew where I was coming from. But the drinking was just constant, to where friends had to walk me out to the bar and walk me into my house and put me on the couch of my own house. My mom was just like, drunk again, like, yep. And then there's just nights where one at the time they found me in the dog park parking lot,
Oh shit.
and I was just laying there, and they thought I was dead. The time before that, a cop had found me in the middle of an intersection. Passed the fuck out. I guess I tried to walk home, and I just didn't get very far. I thought I could do this. I don't live that far. Fuck no. I guess apparently not. So it just got to a point where it was out of control, and at that point, I just didn't care if I lived or died, to be honest. And
Right.
sometimes to this day, I'm still the same way. You know, today, aside from doctor and physical therapy, it was just gut 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 gut. It was just, that was it. Like, I'm still a little
Yeah.
bit plastered right now, but I'm still coherent enough to understand what's going on around me, and that's fine. I
Right.
try I try really hard to control it, to where I just like, don't touch it. It's not always the case. Alcoholism's been in my family for generations on. It started with my grandfather, and then my uncle, and then my dad, and now me. So, well, and my little brother on top of it. He managed to nip it in the ass, but that's, he's got a stable thing going for him. He's got 2 jobs to keep him busy. He has his girlfriend now, so, and he's working on his own. He bought a car that he's working on. So he kind of bought a shit box that he's working at. So there's that angle. It's very difficult to where, like, it's caused a lot of harm to me nonetheless, because, like, I've had an illness that they can't seem to identify with me. I get
Right.
random, pains in my joints and fatigue, and I'm fatigued when I'm sick. I'm sick when I'm fatigued, and when I get like a cold, I'm fatigued then, and dizziness and all of that other and things like that. So, they're running all these different tests, and I'm thinking like, well, obviously there's the more common things like, liver damage and damage to my brainstem from all the alcohol, but that's just to kind of follow the after effects that causes, which
Right.
is, those 2 main things. It affects the brain and the liver the most. The kidneys are kind of secondary, but I have like a kidney problem where I'm kind of like, I have to take these special medications to kind of keep those enzymes leveled until they're leveled enough to level themselves out. Um, I was very big on Jack and Cokes. So whenever I go to the bar, I'd open up a tab that wound up to be like $100 worth of Jack and Coke, and they got like 6 or 7, maybe 10 glasses on the freaking counter. And this lady at the bar is looking at me like, "Are you fucked up yet?" And I'm like, "Fuck no, give me another one." I just became so
Yeah.
tolerant to it, to where it's just like, fuck it. um, these days, today, with the new year, I think it's gotten worse, because like I feel like the longer it's been since all of this happened, the worse it's taken its toll on me. And every time I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's every time I see my little boy, it's just a reminder that she's gone and she's not coming back.
Right.
And the time that I see him, it's just him. It's just me and him
Right.
hanging out and playing and watching movies and TV and all that stuff. And he's my little rock and gets me through a lot of things, to where, like, every day I'm at this PC, and I have a picture of him when he was littler, and he was in his little Cubs baseball outfit. And I've always had this fear from the moment he was born, is that I didn't want to disappoint him or his mom. And I didn't want to disappoint her family further than I already have with how she was treated by me, and I can't fix it, is the problem.
Right.
And the thing is, when you love somebody as much as I do when it comes to my family, I love deep with that.
Mm-hmm.
The moment he was born, I'm looking at this little human in my arms and like, I did this? Like, do I deserve this kind of thing? So, and now every day that I see him, it's just like he's growing up without me around to see it. So, I'm really trying hard to kind of kick this alcoholism aside. It's a demon that I've dealt with for the longest time, and I escape it for a while, and then it kind of just hooks back onto me. So it's not easy being me. It's not easy being anybody. But it's just whenever I have them and I'm holding them, it's just like I'm holding a piece of her at the same time. And
Right.
it bothers me, but it doesn't bother me. It bothers me, but not in a bad way. It bothers me because I know I'll never know that again.
I get you.
Our relationship wasn't always as bad as it was. And, I'm sorry. But, there was always the good memories that we kind of like shared together to where it's like there was nights we had like the coloring book nights. We just sit in front of a movie and just color in the coloring books, have a conversation. And when she found out she was pregnant with him, it was more of a I always took care of her on hand and foot. A couple of times I kind of lashed out at her, and that was the wrong time to do it. But I always apologized to her, and I always made sure she was taken care of first, and I always put my family first. When it became an issue with my job, I told him to shove it. I'm not going to pick, he had digestive problems when he was born, so he had a lot of gastrointestinal issues. So we would go to the emergency rooms just to make sure that he was okay, and he's just very gassy. So, there's times I had to leave work early, take him, and I would get shit from supervisors, and I said, "You can kiss my ass.
Right.
It's my kid."
Mm-hmm.
And the most difficult thing is him not being here all the time. It kicks the shit out of me.
Oh yeah.
I know what it's like to be beaten up and all these other things, but not in this way. It's gotten to a point where, you know, I started picking the skin off my thumbs and my fingers and stuff like that, and in kind of like a nervous habit because he's my little rock and was always like my only reason why I would come home from work just to when I worked overnights is when I come home at 3, 4 in the morning, sometimes 5 or 6, depending on how much overtime I wanted to work that night. And the first thing I would do is go over to his crib, and he was still tiny enough. And the first thing I would do is I'd stare at him for about 30 minutes. I think there was one night in particular, I just pulled up a chair in front of him, and I slept in the chair. I think there was like one night in particular, I remember how tiny he was. He was so aware of things. And I was playing my Switch. He was reaching over to grab it, and I gave it to him. He's just holding it with his little hands. I'm like, that thing is, for how small he was just very strong.
And the Switch was probably bigger than he was at that point.
It was. I'll admit till the cows come home, I fucked up with them both. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that at all. Um, I miss them both every day. I'd be lying if I said that the best part of me the best part of me died when they left.
Yeah, I get you.
How I know that? I haven't been right since. And look what happened to me with cuffs. I fucked that up because my head just wasn't where it needed to be at.
Right.
I come home from work now. It's almost an empty house. Too quiet. Used to walking into my room. TV blaring out the door. Cody asleep. I don't even know who the hell I am anymore, dude.
I get it.
That's the honest to God truth. Like chaos that I stirred up with Onyx wasn't even necessary. It's because I was just pissed at myself. I feel bad because I always respected him. I knew he had to do what he had to do. He has rules.
Yep.
I just wanted to watch the world burn.
Yep. I get it. Now it's time to try to repair.
The worst thing I basically am the worst thing at is repairing, and I'll explain why. I have three brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the middle. When my dad passed away, the first sign that I kind of knew she was kind of just shifting and pulling away. She didn't go up to say goodbye to him. She sat there with Matthew the entire time, didn't even move. And
Yeah.
I was like, and I was an asshole. I'll admit I'm the biggest asshole there could possibly be. I reprimanded her for it. It's just like you could have just went and said goodbye to him. He treated her like she was his own daughter. And I was angry with her about that. The last good memory that I have with me, her, and Matthew was the beginning of this year or last year, a couple months before she bailed. We took him to the park. He likes to go on the swings, and he had his little Spider-Man hat on. And he just wanted to play with the other kids. Now I pretty much got to do that on my own.
Yeah. It will take time to heal. How much healing is done will remains to be seen, but it takes time to heal.
Saddest part of it is when we leave the house. He'll look back and he'll point. And I'll say, "What, buddy?" He'll go, "Mom." He's waiting for his mother to come out.
Yeah.
Because he knows that's something that we did together, so.
Yeah.
Everything I ever did was for both of them. My back is so screwed up from all the overtime and all the hard work that I put in to make sure that I kept a roof over our heads and food in our mouths and the bills somewhat paid and make sure I was able to at least provide them with something. And
Right.
like I admit before, I wasn't the best dad in the world. I didn't pay much attention when he was smaller. I can't do anything about that now, but I can. Now I'm just more viewed as a monstrosity versus somebody who was willing to do anything and everything to save his family or repair it. It just didn't happen.
I don't know how she views it, but I don't think anybody that especially is listening to or watching this views it that way. All you can do is the best you can do, man.
Honestly, I don't know how to view much of anything anymore. I was a grade A asshole and she deserved better than that.
Now,
Now she has it, so.
now, a lot of that has to do with medical issues that you can't control and those kinds of things. Fortunately, it was out of your control. It wasn't something you were doing on purpose. It was just, it was circumstances. It sucks.
Just think 2 months before your wedding day, everything just comes crashing down.
Oh, I get it. I I completely get it. Never experienced it, but I get it. But you couldn't control it. It wasn't like you were trying to be a jerk. It just was circumstances. You had a medical condition going on, and so on and so forth. It was completely out of your control. It just really sucks that it happened that way.
It really does.
Just a gigantic, unfortunate situation all the way around.
Just comes down to the three things that I know are either gonna take. It's gonna come down to the three main things that I feel are gonna take me down. It's either gonna be the bottle, my conscience, or my depression. One of the three. And I've come close a time or two.
Yeah. Well, you've got people around you that you can talk to. I'm one of them. You know that.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, Sherry's in chat right now saying the same thing. I mean, you've got people around you that care. That if you need to talk and you need to get stuff off your chest, or you need to vent, or you need call me, dude. You,
I
it's
don't think
not a
it's a
problem.
matter of getting anything off my chest at this point. It's just the fact that I had a family and I fucking blew it.
Mhm.
And I always knew somewhere in my life when I was in high school, and like if I ever happened to me, I'd fuck it up. And I fucked it up. So my little brother tried really hard to get, and my dad both tried very hard to get me to understand the values of getting your head on your shoulders and not letting these cryptic demons just hold you to your. The thing was, it wasn't even a cryptic demon nonetheless. It was just, I was hurt and didn't know it.
Yeah.
And it, just an infection. And a pretty nasty one at that. I was 2 months from death at that point. I could have been taking my vows with her and I could have dropped dead right there.
That's what I was about to say. You're lucky to be
So,
alive from
and there's days I question my, like, how the fuck am I still here after everything with the alcohol issues, the health issues that followed that. And, you know, my kid is here and we're just having so much freaking fun. Then he's got to go home. So it's like, I feel like it's like a tease. It's like 4 days I get to have with him, and it's just like he's got to go back, and I got to wait another 14 days before I see him. So,
it. Yeah, that would be extremely difficult. Again, I've never experienced it, so I have absolutely no idea, but I can imagine how difficult that would be.
you know, some people will tell me, they'll sit there, you know, when I would go to bars, like, I know what you're dealing with. And the first thing I ask them is, do you have kids? And they'll say, nah, bro, I don't. I'm like, then you don't know shit.
Yeah.
And they kind of give me a dirty look after that, and it's like, you don't, though.
No.
Until you have kids and they're taken from you to where you get to see them every 2 weeks, which is like twice a month, if that,
Yep.
you don't know shit of the pain that
Oh, I
that
mean,
brings on somebody and the weight that it carries.
absolutely. That little man is a piece of you, literally. There is no closer bond.
you know,
Yeah.
I spent this entire end of last year just trying to pick up on something that, yeah, she wasn't very supportive of the whole YouTube concept because it pulled me away from my responsibilities. But it was something that I've wanted to do for the longest time, and I was finally doing it and left because of it.
Mhm.
And then months later, I pick it back up again and start doing it, and I feel, in a sense, at times guilty for doing it. It's like, what's wrong with you? Didn't you learn the first time? That's the thing with me. I don't learn my lessons. Not that quickly. It takes a few fuck ups before that happens. I'm very bullheaded and I'm very complicated. I set my mind to a goal, I see it through,
Yeah.
regardless what it may cost me at the end of it. But now I think the biggest root of the drinking is the fact that nowadays it's the fact that I come home to an empty home and I'm just used to his little giggle or his little laugh or waking up in the morning and he's playing with his toys or he'll jump on me and wake me up and I don't get that anymore.
Yeah.
But it was like, well, you got your mom's like it doesn't. My mom does not cure the loneliness in my heart at all. It doesn't
Yeah,
cure.
it's not a replacement for
It does.
child.
It, it doesn't fill the void. It doesn't establish the unbalanced order in my head either. I was working my ass off through a pandemic when it first started, when I was at GameStop for that promotion that I got. And it was right when I
Hmm.
announced to the family that I got it, is when like the gears started turning with her and she was gone days later.
Right.
I put myself at risk so I could put food and clothes in my pay the bills and not have to worry about collecting an unemployment check. I tried to save my store. The last guy came in, tried to attack one of my associates and myself, and told him to fuck off, and they fired me for it.
Yep.
It was just the fact that
Unfortunate string of events.
it was just the fact that yesterday, calling out my ability to supply or provide for him, it hurt so much I couldn't even respond to it rationally without my head just having sparks everywhere. It took every bit of me to just not go off and say, you know what? But it just made me think it was my yelling and screaming that caused all this and to start with. This time I have control over it to where I could be like, hey, that's not cool. Now
That's the first part of the battle.
that's pretty much the brunt of it.
Yeah.
That's where all the alcoholism comes from. That answers the question.
Sure does. I'm assuming you're still battling with it.
every day. Not as bad as it was before, but it's just like there's just days I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Come home with about 3 or 4 40s and down it goes. Next thing you know, I'm in fucking oblivion. And I'll just hop on some
Yeah.
ridiculous game like Yu-Gi-Oh or something on my PS4 and I'm just playing that and it's just like, what the fuck am I doing? I don't care. Let's do this.
Yeah, the mindless games that don't take a whole lot of brain power.
No, they don't. And yeah, don't really have much left on that subject.
Nope.
Pretty much poured it out of my eyeballs instead.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty honest account right there.
And those are for like the people that have to understand something. And this is me being me, not the hypocrite. I miss the fuck out of cuffs, I do. Everybody knows that.
Oh yeah.
I know what I said about Onyx was shitty as fuck, and I wish I could take it all back because at the end of the day, that's not how I feel at all. It was just me yelling at myself for not keeping myself in line. I never would have lost my place. You know, he really is a good person when it came down to things. He really always checked up on me when I was really fucked up. Always made sure that I was good and if I left the community night stream early, he'd make sure everything was okay with that and that I was all right. And I feel like a piece of shit. I wish I could tell him myself that I'm sorry, but I earned that shit. That falls on me. But that's just pretty much the tip of the iceberg there.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't miss is being randomly disconnected during streams, which was a bit annoying. But what can you do? Databases will be databases.
Not much you can do about that. Yeah, that's been a whole another fiasco in itself.
Other than that, what else you got? Or is that it?
I think that's it for tonight.
Cool.
I think we got fairly deep on that one.
Appreciate you taking the time. Good questions, by the way. Didn't see. I actually did not see. I did not see myself breaking down ever on a freaking stream like that. But shit,
Yeah.
good one on you.
Well, I feel honored that you pulled me on to do this. I really do. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. Doing the best I can, but it's pretty awesome that you trust me enough to put me in that kind of a position. So
It needed to be done.
I
It's
get you.
I hide things very well, and then at the end of the day, when it becomes that volcano, forget it.
No.
But hopefully we could do this again. Just hopefully under circumstances that I ain't crying like a bitch. Um, but that's just the love that I have for my family, and I don't care what anybody says. I'm always gonna love her.
Yeah.
That's my kid's mom,
Yeah.
and I chose her out of a lot of people that I could have basically. I could have picked anybody for that random hookup for fuck's sake. but I didn't. I thought 7 years of a strong bond that we freaking carried would be enough to hold the glue, but not always the case.
Right. And, when you pour 7 years of your life into something and things go south, it's not something you're going to get over very easy, if at all. It's one hell of a bond.
I don't know if it's much of a bond anymore.
Oh, I mean, there's a love there. There's however you want to say it, but there's still, there's gonna
I
still be
know
feelings
I
there.
know people are going to say that there is, but I don't think there is on her end at all. Maybe by the way she does react to certain things or does certain things, but that's not the case. That's just, I think that's just not, it's not spite, but it's just like her way of just pushing off. But that's just me. That's just how I feel
It may
about
be.
it. I don't believe for a second if you're with somebody a long ass time and that person leaves that they have any sort of feelings left for you whatsoever. If they're the ones leaving, they ain't got shit.
Right. And I get that, but on your end, you're gonna have feelings. That's just the way that goes. She was resolved to it. You weren't.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it, guys. Appreciate y'all for coming out. Um, Description down below has all the information and all the channels that I associate with, friends. Um, Check out the merch store. I don't make much off of that, guys. Believe it or not, I sold Sky a freaking hoodie and I made 17 cents off of that darn thing. So I'm really trying to push the merchandise. Really appreciate if you guys check that out and
That hoodie's awesome.
or grab some stuff. Um, Also hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm back to 200. I kind of noticed that a few hours ago. Um,
Yep.
that was because I went to the gas station today and when I bought my freaking beer, my friend behind the counter subscribed to the channel. So I owe her a free hoodie for being the 200th subscriber. So she's gonna get a free item. That
Very nice.
and if you guys would like to donate to the channel, there's a link there. If you guys would like to send a donation, it'd be much appreciated, but it's not at all necessary. But that link is there. I know times are tough for everyone. Um, I'm not sure where I stand with streams. I've been struggling a lot today with a lot of things. I made it through physical therapy fine. I'm not sure. I'm supposed to go for an MRI at some point. That's what work wants me to do before they even consider letting me come back. I guess they want to make sure that I'm not still broken somewhere and then I'm a liability. Last thing I need either. Um, I just haven't. I wasn't in the mood. All the streams that I had planned for the rest of the week I took down this morning because it's just like I just was not feeling it. I have not felt well, I guess is the correct terminology, to an aspect. I just felt really, really down and shitty. And not to mention, the alcohol isn't helping, but it's numbing to a point, but at the same time it takes you. So I'm gonna head out of here. Appreciate your guys' support and love and all that stuff. I'm gonna try and just my best to stay on the horse. When Sky does stuff like this for me, I keep it kind of quiet throughout the day. If I come to him, I usually have him keep it to himself because it's been like a project that me and him have started since the first one we did. And for some odd reason, I feel a lot more comfortable when I'm being asked questions by a guy. And that's probably because all the therapists I've had over the years and psychiatrists and stuff, and they've all been men. So it's it's just how that is. Um, appreciate you guys for getting Bradders to 200 subs. That really helped his confidence boost back up and really helped him really push his server more. Dom is almost to 100, so if you guys haven't checked out Stoner Dom's channel, go check that out and hit the check out his channel.
Subscribe button.
Subscribe over there. I'm not even in the mood for any sort of raids. If you guys want to go raid it, raid it. Do the hashtag. I, I really don't give a fuck, and I don't mean that I don't mean that in a mean way. It's just I just don't give a fuck. I'm trying really hard to find out who I am and what I am. I thought I found that when I found this new job outside of GameStop, and I'm like I was back to doing what I was doing, which was dock work, but I just don't know. As far as everything else is there, it's all the links. There's also the link to the Instagram page and the Facebook page. The Facebook page is doing really, really well. I check it every day, so if you guys want to like leave a comment in there or a post or something, simply just want to hang out there or something, it's always there. The page is doing awesome. It's got as far as people reached, we're at 2492% reach. So
Nice.
2,492% reach. Post engagement went up 22%. Likes were at 163%, so we're all in the green. Engagement was in the red for the longest time, but all the red turned back to green. As far as followers and stuff, I have to actually look at that again. We're at 94 followers, and we're running strong for as many followers as we have, and all of that green. It's awesome. The Instagram page, I gotta start post. I just finished editing screenshots from me and Sherry's RP stuff. I just finished editing that. I'll be posting to the Instagram page once I get around to it. I just have so much going on. These upcoming days, I'll have the little one again. I got to do my taxes tomorrow, and then I got this MRI coming up. I'm not sure when they're going to call and say, hey, come in on this day, whatever. But I appreciate you guys being here and coming to hang out and stuff like that and listen to stuff like this. I share it with you guys because you guys have given me another reason to take another shot at YouTube, and we're at 200 now, so it's a good way to start. I'm shooting for 250 now, so it's the best way to go about it. And then just work our way back up the ladder. But I'm kind of proud of where a lot of not just the RP, but like I've been playing other games and we're getting some pretty good view percentages on those. I mean, the most I've gotten on a Dying Light is 60, so the GTA ones get pretty good views, so I might be starting doing the story modes once I kind of get my head out of my ass. When and if that happens, I don't have a clue. That all falls on me at that point. But yeah, guys, appreciate Sky. Go over to Big Sky Gaming's channel, hit the subscribe button on his stuff. I know he doesn't have anything up yet, but it'll give him at least some sort of sub base to where he'll have people to watch once he gets his content going and gets his.
Something will be going up either here shortly or tomorrow. So there'll be something up on the channel here by tomorrow afternoon sometime.
Yep, you heard the man. I don't know where RP goes as far as GTA goes. I don't know what's going on with server stuff. Um, until I haven't heard much of anything, so but I'm gonna get out of here, guys, and appreciate y'all coming out, and we'll see you around in the next one, I suppose, whenever that may be.
Have a good night, everybody.
Take it easy, guys.